course, man. Thanks for being here. You know, I see you following. Yeah, I think I saw you post a clip from that.
Cam, the Australian
Yeah. You were just moving closer
Oh, yeah.
so you're in camera. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not sure. I know we followed each other on Instagram. I'm not sure where we would have met. Do you?
I'm not sure either.
We must have been on. Must have been on a show together at some point.
I would think so.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah. How you doing? How's the special doing?
Pretty good. Sorry, I just gotta tap my boot
Yeah.
real quick. It's going good. It's tough to know what's good these days, you know, because it feels like everything's down across the board. But I feel like it's doing all right. I think we're up to like 41,000.
That's pretty good.
Which is,
Yeah.
I think pretty solid.
I'd say that's
for,
yeah.
especially for someone like me.
Yeah. But so you filmed at the Cellar.
Yes.
And
Have we started?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if that's all right. That's
No,
all right.
yeah, of course it's all right.
I just like to. I like
it.
so it can come in naturally. You know?
I feel I've tied my boot. I
Yeah,
feel like I
getting-
started so
we're giving,
lackadaisical.
But that's kind of we're giving the audience it's a real feel.
I like
It's
it.
real,
I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're from Buffalo.
From Buffalo, yeah.
When did you move here?
About 10 years ago.
And you started stand up in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did about 10 years there and now about 10, 11 years here.
Is Maddie Smith from Buffalo?
She is, but she didn't really, we crossed paths very little though. I think she did some shows there, but she wasn't there for like a while.
And Joe Pera and Dan
Joe
Licata.
Pera, yeah.
So did you know those guys?
I knew them. They were there more than Maddie, so I knew both of them, but they went to Ithaca College, so they would like in the summer they'd be around more.
Okay.
Usually something like that.
Yeah.
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 Where are you from?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay. Where?
Harrisburg.
Oh, Harrisburg. Interesting.
Yeah. State capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not much else going on there.
Is there a room there?
There's the Harrisburg Comedy Zone, which I've done like one open mic at. But
okay.
I went to college in Vermont, so I started stand up there, and then
Vermont.
moved here
So we
right
got
after.
Carmen Legala.
Yep.
We have.
She was already here by the time I started, but I became friends
Okay.
with her once I moved here.
Why am I blanking on the other guy's name? I haven't seen in a while. Long hair.
Kendall
Farrell.
Yeah,
Yes.
Kendall ran the first open mic I went to.
Nice.
Yeah, and then there were a few other like Tina Frimmel.
Oh yeah,
She started around the same time
That's
as
right.
me. Carl Sonnefeld.
Okay,
He doesn't really do stand up anymore. He actually moved back to Vermont. Dave Anderson also doesn't really do stand up anymore. Ash Diggs.
Oh yeah, I've
Ash
met
is
that. Yeah.
around. Liam Welsh.
All right, it's a good crew.
Yeah, good crew. So it's like a very small scene, but like a lot of funny people and a lot of people move here. Annie Russell, whose dog I'm going to walk later today.
There we go.
But yeah. Yeah, so you started stand up in Buffalo. What was Buffalo like?
It was good. I mean, back at that time, stand up wasn't as popular, so it was very like I started at this club, and it was there for like a year or so before it went out of business, and then there was just like one weekly open mic. That was it. That was the only
How old
time
are
you
you?
could get up. I'm 40.
Okay, because you're one of those guys where I'm like you could be anywhere from 22 to 50. Like,
God, 22. I'd love a 22.
it's just like some people are like ethnically ambiguous. You're age ambiguous.
I'll take an age ambiguous. You know what and I get a lot of anti-Semitism on when I post clips, but I'm not Jewish, which is so weird because you want to be like, no, but also doesn't that almost like prove how silly that is? Because you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, not only are you hateful, but you're wrong about who you're hating.
Yeah, I have kind of the opposite because I am Jewish and I'll do jokes that like if a non-Jewish person said them, they would be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
But and a lot of times I just assume people know I'm Jewish. But then sometimes I've started doing a joke about it where I'm like, sometimes people don't know and they're just like, why is this Italian guy so anti-Semitic?
It's probably going to get to a point where, of course, they're silly already, but like all of those isms become sillier because you're just going to be like, oh, I don't like this. And you're like, I'm not even that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like it's just,
yeah.
Like it's already,
ridiculous.
of course, kind of like that. But yeah, it just proves how silly the whole thing is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mark Normand, who he produced your special.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a joke about being like somebody like being like, you're Jewish, and he's like, no, he's like, good, I hate Jews. And it's like, you couldn't even tell. How do you hate people? You don't even know who they are.
Yeah. It's very true.
Yeah, but so you started stand up like, so you moved here 10 years ago. How long were you doing it in Buffalo?
About 10. So I think I've been I'm probably 20, give or take.
Yeah. What's what made you move here? Like what was, because that's a long time to be doing it.
It is. It was
in Buffalo.
It was just kind of a thing. I wanted to really wait. I feel like I heard or saw things that they moved too early, and I think you could immediately. It's tough going to a new city, right?
Yeah,
You're immediately in the muck with everyone.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I could meet a couple more people, get a little better, even if I start like, just 1 foot in the muck, I'm like, that's going to be a better life. So that was kind of my goal of just really making sure the material was ready, making sure I had as many contacts as possible, making sure I had money saved up. Yeah. Just kind of a little baseline.
Yeah, way smarter than how I did it. I was like, yeah, I'd done it for 2 years in Vermont. I'm totally right. But my thought process was like, I don't know, like I didn't want to. I was worried about the opposite because I'd seen some people who like they stay in the small scene too long, and I've even seen that with people that have moved here from Vermont more recently, and like it's just like, oh, I got those people like you can get comfortable. In that being the big fish in the little pond.
That's absolutely true.
Did you feel like that happened to you at all?
Not too much because I always had the notion that I was going to go. But I think that's the con of staying for sure. I think the best is to go almost right away because it's like, why do 5 years in Vermont when you could just be then 5 years into New York City? Yeah. So that's a good way to do it. And the other way is to just wait a while until everything's kind of... Right. Yeah. I would say you either go year 1 or year 8. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the best ways to do it.
And I think I definitely had I was like somewhat good, but I was not as good as I thought I was.
Right.
Definitely, where I was like.
Well, I think no one is. I think you come to New York and you see people and you go, oh, okay. Yeah. And I think it's also good that you do I did a couple fact-finding, things in New York where you do shows. You come here for a week. I came here for summer, and you're really able to see like, oh, that joke that kills on the road is, I think it's an A, and it's like a B-.
Yeah.
And you kind of
Absolutely.
Let the city teach you some lessons.
Yeah, I remember that like doing my my A+ material at Mike's. And bombing with it, and being like, oh shit, like it's like I don't know if you ever listen to like NBA podcasts, but they always talk about like, oh, what was your welcome to the league moment?
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's a thing that really happens.
Like you get hit by a linebacker, it's like, welcome to the NFL, rookie. That's you doing your big bit.
Exactly.
That's bombing.
Do you feel like do you have like an example of that?
I mean, I not a concrete one, but I definitely do remember doing bits, and some of them were like, okay, yeah, this is a good bit, and then some of them like, oh, that bit works because I'm doing it in minute 12 of a 20-minute set when they kind of already like me, and there's a lot of fat on. There's a lot of things that I'm like, there's a lot of road fat on this.
Yes.
Because I think the best comic takes the lessons from the road and takes the lessons from the city and then combines them. Because I think I also see comics in Brooklyn where I go like, oh, you're talking about like road hacks, but like, have you ever made a crowd laugh for 45 minutes? And I'm like, I don't think, we all know those people that I'm like, I don't think you have that in you. And that's kind of the job. And as I get older, I kind of have an appreciation of those people like who would work like VFWs and do like old kind of outdated hacky jokes, but would murder. Cause I'm like, at least they're doing what the job description is, even if it's not always to my taste. And so, you got to be able to kind of do both.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like there's road hacks. There's totally Brooklyn hacks too.
Right.
And it's like even like I'm going to Texas next week. I'm like, is my new joke? about hooking up with a polyamorous girl, is that gonna kill there like it kills in Brooklyn? Like probably not.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I guess they got freaks everywhere.
But then I think you put that together where you go, maybe it doesn't work in Texas, but you come up with a line or two
that
explains polyamory, and then you go, oh, I could actually do that in Brooklyn too, and just be like, hey, in case anyone's visiting from, this is what that is, and you have a little joke there, and it makes the joke better in both situations.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. So what, like growing up, you were a big comedy fan?
Yeah. Just
kind of. And you started when you were 20?
Yeah.
So you were saying. Growing up, you were a big comedy fan.
Yeah, just kind of watched it a bunch on Comedy Central, and just took it all in. I was like, I'll try that.
Yeah. Who are your guys?
Mitch Hedberg and Conan were my big two influences. Yeah. But I kind of watched everyone, so it kind of like grew from there. But those are my big two to start off.
What else were you into as a kid?
Sports. I mean, the Bills and Sabres are
sorry
huge.
About the Bills, but
okay.
That was a tough loss.
It always is.
Yeah.
We're used to it. And then, so sports was big, video games was big. Kind of just ended like movies I was into, kind of all the hallmarks, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, so I've noticed, I think it's like a common like theme or pattern with comics is that it's not like usually the first art or like creative pursuit that people come to. Did you have something that you thought you would do before?
Interesting.
Or that you were trying as a kid?
No, I mean, I guess I was kind of like creative, but the moment I did anything for real, it was comedy.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you said that, because do you get the feeling sometimes that I see a lot of comedians that I go, man, the second this wanes a little bit, like you're out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like I can almost tell you don't want to be doing this.
Yeah.
This is your way to get famous.
Sure.
And this is the way to get people eyes on you. But like, you don't really, your goal isn't this. Your goal isn't to be working on hour 5 in, like 10 years from now or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely do see that. I think that's kind of what how I thought I saw myself. Like I thought like, oh, like I don't know, like I like comedy and I want to like act and write, and like I know, I did love stand up, but I was like, like Andy Samberg and Seth Rogen started out as stand-ups and then they don't do, so I was like, maybe this isn't the thing for me. But now having done it for 9 years, I'm like, yeah, this is the thing. I still want to do that other stuff, but this is clearly like this is the thing I really want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because stand-up's, I guess, more popular than ever, but I do think there are a lot of people, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I do feel like there are a ton of people that I'm like, I don't know that you like really want to be doing this, which I think is such like an interesting.
It is interesting. I also think that it has the like lowest like barrier to entry out of almost anything.
100%.
And so I think for a lot of people, it is just like, oh, I don't know how else to put myself out there.
My buddy made me laugh once. I don't know if you remember, Jeremy Piven got a bunch of Me Too allegations.
Yes, and then started doing stand-up. He just posted a tour picture.
My buddy goes, stand-up is the only career you could be Me Too'd into.
That's so true. Yeah.
But there is like, and there are people that, like you said, there are people that use it as like a stepping stone. I want to do something else in comedy. But there are people that you feel like you're doing this just because you could make money and there's not really anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've never met Jeremy Piven. I think I've had some friends open for him. I hear he was nice enough to them. I don't have anything bad to say about him. Yeah. But like, it does feel like he's kind of using what we love as like a cheap whore sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. There's also when stand-ups transition into acting, it's so cool. Like it's like Michael Keaton. Like that's really cool that he was a pretty good comic.
Yeah.
And he went from that to being like an incredible actor. When actors transition into stand-up, oh my god, it makes me so angry. Like this is the thing you have to do before you find like like it's either this is the thing you do because you like so many people that I meet were like theater kids who are like not that good at it, like not that good at theater, and then they're like, oh, I could actually do stand-up, Well,
it's just also the lack of like
I wanted to be a musician, and I'm not good at that, so I started doing comedy. That fits me better. Yeah.
Well, just like the lack of like putting in work. Like sometimes you'll see someone drop a special, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know they were touring. And if like you go back and be like, oh, they did, 20 dates to prepare for this special. You're like, well, that can't be any good. Like,
right.
It takes a long time to do a thing. But I wonder if actors feel the same way about us. Like some comic is in a movie and they're like, that guy doesn't know what he's fucking doing.
I've heard, because I've done a little bit of acting. I want to do more. A lot of actors tend to like working with comics.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like sort of a different muscle there in terms of like or I know that directors typically like working with comedians because it's easier. I've heard that it's easier to teach comedians how to act than it is to teach actors how to be funny.
Though that makes sense.
Although most great actors are pretty funny as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that there's probably a piece of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some short, fat, bald guys that are struggling actors and saw Stavros and Begonia and were like, oh, come on. Like, I can play that character better than him.
Who went to like acting school.
Yeah,
for years.
graduate,
That's funny.
just the ugliest Juilliard graduate. Just like, damn.
And it's just how we feel when actors are like, I'm doing a tour, and you're like, what? You've never done this before in your life.
And it's annoying when they're good at, like Blake Griffin, just being so naturally fun. I've never seen him do stand-up, but I've heard him on podcasts.
Well, you know what I would respect more is just like a little humbleness. I forget who it was. Someone told me, God, it was maybe someone like who was on SNL in the 90s and wanted, kind of a quick payday essentially to do a stand-up tour. And he did a thing where he was the host. So he'd come out, he'd go to Vermont. Mm. He'd come out and he'd host for 15 minutes, and then he'd bring up the best 3 Vermont comics to do 20 minutes each, give them some money, and everyone kind of gets what they want. The young comics get to perform in front of a sold-out show. He doesn't have to do as much work. He doesn't need to write 45. He just needs to do 15. Everyone gets their picture with him after the show. It's like everyone's kind of happy, and no one's doing more than they can.
I think that does definitely require a level of humility that I think most celebrities wouldn't have.
Yeah, which is so funny because
though.
I guess, but you go like, but this is giving you the same amount of money and you're doing less work.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, in my mind, I would be like, oh, that's great.
You got to think about the ego that
the
ego that leads to success.
That's true.
That you have to have. So, think about, we're not even successful, and think about the delusional belief in ourselves that we have. To be able to do stand-up for 20 years,
Well, that's the interesting thing, because you need a little delusion, but you don't want too much delusion.
Yeah.
Because we've all seen people with too much delusion, and you go, oh, brother, that is a bad look, But if you had none, we wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So it's like finding that correct amount where you're like a little bit of a crazy person, but you could still exist amongst society.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you in Buffalo, were you touring the upstate New York? Was that a little bit a thing? Because that's what I've heard from a lot of smaller scenes New England, Midwest.
And back in that day, I was really lucky. I don't know how younger comics do it now, but I was able to open up for everyone because people weren't allowed to bring. So you just make contacts at clubs, and I met Normand in Portland, Oregon.
Oh wow!
Just opening up for him on a whim, and I'd open up for all types of people from Brendan Schaub to Jen Kirkman. I would just be like, hey, do you need someone? And I'd go all across the country and open for these people. And it was very helpful both for my comedy and just meeting tons of people, Yeah.
Brendan Schaub, speaking of people who got famous and then did stand-up.
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
I've had really good experience. I've opened up for dozens and dozens of people, and almost there's a couple people I'm like, I don't really get along with this person, but I haven't really had this person's an asshole.
No horror stories?
No horror stories. A couple people, I'll tell you off air, who I was I don't know, we don't vibe.
Sure,
but there was no one that I was kind of fuck this person. Which is pretty impressive. Now, maybe they were hiding it. I didn't have interactions with all these people. And I'm such an easy mark. If someone says something nice to me, I'm like, this is the best guy in the world. So I have that. A lot of comedians are people pleasers. So.
Epstein was a pedophile. No, he invited me to his island.
Well, I've joked with friends. I was like, if I got off stage and Cosby was good set, I'm like, were we wrong about this guy? Yeah. Like, are we sure that because the comedians, and that's why you see all this stuff with like the politics and comedy podcasters is like comedians are people pleasers and politicians are like salesmen. Yeah. So like anyone could come in and just kind of be like, "Oh, we're rounding up all those people. It's actually good. And by the way, you're funny." And you go like, "Oh, maybe it is good that we're like because that's our like fatal flaw. A lot of us,
Is that it is. I mean, it's probably the most people pleasing of all art forms.
Yes.
In that, like, totally. You're literally trying to get a physical reaction out of people that...
And that's why I think sometimes criticism for us almost, like, hurts more, because if you're a musician, someone's like, I don't like your music, it doesn't really seem like it's you.
Yeah.
But, like, if you go up there and you're like, it's just you and a microphone trying to be funny... It's more like, I don't like you, not I didn't like your movie. It's not really that personal, but it feels more personal.
I think that's why like cancel culture is a bigger thing with comedy than it is with music, because like, I mean, like looking at like Louis or somebody like that, where like if he was a musician with those allegations, I don't think his career is really affected.
Yeah,
like,
I think
maybe a little, but I don't know. I mean, like people still listen to Chris Brown.
Yeah,
it took a long time to get people to stop listening to R. Kelly, who's not even that good. Like
sports and music, they skirt easily. Yeah, and I think actors and comics, it's more like I think get it more because it feels more intimate, or they just I think
comedy it's so, I mean, it's like such a parasocial thing where like you watch like a comic you like and you're like, I feel like I feel like I'm talking to my friend, you know, especially with podcasts now.
I know, which is like the weird thing because so many comedians have podcasts and there's good and bad in it. People are like, oh, you get one, it's it helps with YouTube, it helps sell tickets, but I think every comic I know is like, it's weird that people are like, is your dog still sick? You know what I'm saying? Like, because other people they get to have a little bit of separation of church and state, and
right. Because there's also like the Hassan Minhaj article that came out a couple years ago, where it's like, which was really like a hit piece for no reason. I think like it's so crazy that like with any you don't assume every musician that every song is 100%
right
factual, but with comedy to find out that some details were not 100% accurate, people like treat that as like a real offense or like breach of trust.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, have you had that happen to you at all?
I'm trying to think if I don't think so. But it is something that like, I don't have a pod. I had a Bills podcast for a little while, which was fun. But they keep. It's really tough to do a podcast that your team loses, and you got to do like a comedy podcast. It's very annoying. So we stopped that. But that is a thing I think about of like, because I mean, the title of your podcast, like, I kind of don't want to be famous.
Yeah.
I would love to get to a level where I have enough fans that I could regularly do stand-up and not kind of worry about my bills. But I kind of don't want...
Well, you're going to still have to worry about the bills. They're gonna lose in the playoffs.
How dare you? That is true. Like I don't. So it is like a thing where I kind of don't want people knowing every part of my life. Yeah,
there's something weird about it. Anytime I've had like just a couple times of like with people that have like listened to the podcast and just they know a fact about me that I'm like, I didn't tell you that. It's weird. And it's like, or like even one time after a show, I have a joke where I mentioned having a dog named Sammy. And somebody comes up to me after the show and goes, I also have a dog named Sammy. And then I like forgot I did that joke. I was like, how the fuck do you know that about me? But it's funny, you mentioned the thing about doing a podcast after your team loses. Sam Morrill told me when he was on Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart's podcast, I asked him about it and he was like, it was terrible. They were on a 3-game losing streak. Like they were not happy. They didn't want to do a podcast that day.
Yeah, I mean, poof.
Yeah.
Now, would you want to be famous?
I'd like to be more famous than I am. I don't know that I think I feel similarly where I'd like to be able. I'd like to be able to headline and like have like comedy be my main source of income.
Yeah.
So I think whatever level of fame it takes to get that, I don't know. It's weird because I mean, money and like the need for money also just like complicates things. Where I think in a lot of ways, if I was like able to not be stressed about money, I'd be much more okay with where I'm at in my career right now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I really think that like, you know, there's something to like working for a long time and really, you know, getting stuff like when you're ready for it and not when like just when you want it.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways I'm like, you know, I think I'm good at stand-up, but I certainly could be better. And I think that like first impressions are hard to shake off. And so it's like if people are first seeing me like when I'm, you know, when I was 2 years in versus 10 years in, like there's a big difference.
That's the thing of if you move to the city too late, it's good because that first impression is better too.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah. And I certainly think that even like, there's definitely people that I know here that I think have been, that maybe met me when I first moved here and then have seen me more recently. I've like probably been surprised.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
But yeah, do I want to be famous? A little bit. I don't want to be super famous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to be able to.
I always like, it must be amazing to be an artist that like kind of makes money and kind of no one knows who they are. Like if you're like the drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe a bad example because he's known to look like Will Ferrell, but like, you know what I'm saying? Where you could like walk
Chad Smith.
Yeah. So maybe a bad example because I know that person's name, but if you're the drummer for Tool, you could probably just walk down the street but you're able to do, you know, art for a living, make a good amount of money, but like, other than select few people, no one knows who you are.
Right. I mean, I guess that's another difference where like, cause stand-up is like a solo thing and so front facing.
Yeah.
That it's like even at the like smallest level of success, you know, like I had Gary Coleman on the podcast yesterday, and like he did get recognized in the bookstore.
Yeah.
After we recorded, and it's like he's a somewhat famous comedian. Mm-hmm. You know, he said I was asking about, you know, he said he gets recognized every now and then, but not like every day.
Right.
But although he is also like 6'6", so that certainly does
help.
It easier to blend in. But yeah, I think there is something cool about doing art more anonymously while maintaining success, and that is just not really as possible with what we do.
Yeah.
It used to be with podcasts, but now everything's a video.
That's true.
Like it used to be like.
Wasn't it funny how like podcasts used to be for like the poors?
Yeah.
And now it's like all the rich, successful people came in and they're like, now you want to do a podcast. You're like, okay, well, I got to kind of like run a studio and I need to make sure the video is good. And you're like, this used to be for poor people.
No, exactly. This used to be something you could do out of your living room, and you didn't have to like worry about how you looked at all. Like. Now I mean, like I listened to an episode of Amy Poehler's podcast, and I was like, God damn it, it's good. I wanted it to be bad.
I think maybe for podcasting, that's my big thing of like, you know, talk about the biggest thing is always like the wealth distribution and whatnot, and there's just little things to me that like I think if you're an actor, right, you're in SAG, I think if you make like whatever the number is, say over $100,000 a year through SAG, you shouldn't be allowed to be in commercials.
I 100% agree.
There should be like a line where it's like, sorry, Jason Bateman, you made too much money last year. You can't be in this Geico commercial.
Yes, 100. I 100% agree. It's funny. This is it's actually like a thing that I have like written down in my notes as like like a bit idea. Yeah. I don't know what the cutoff would be financially, but like yes. Unless you're making all that money through commercial, like unless you're like Jake from State Farm.
Right. But if you think about all the people we know from commercials, Snapple Lady, Flo, Jake from State Farm, Can You Hear Me Now?
Yeah.
Like
these are all people that wanted to be real actors.
Yeah, and like got to make their money through this middle class. Nowadays, all four of those people would be Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's seeing Will Ferrell in a PayPal commercial. It's infuriating. And it's like, you're so much better than this.
Well, and it's just like a thing, too, that sometimes pisses me off. And I know, like, even at my level, I could be better than this. But, you know, like, we hate billionaires, and that's fair. But it's like a thing of, like, but millionaires could help us out more.
Yeah.
You know, like just as I could probably help the homeless guy more when I have like an extra donut and I pay, like we could all kind of like, but there's a thing of like millionaires, you could just come together and be like, we're not doing commercials. Those are for our fellow actors who need the money.
You know what? This is something I think about sometimes, just that if you have $499 million, you're closer to having $0 than you are to having $1 billion. It's like, I don't even know what to do with that information, but it's just like, that is crazy to think about in terms of like what $1 billion is.
Yeah.
But I also think that the richer and more successful you get, the more you're surrounded by people who have more than you. And so I think for a lot of these like millionaires, like, you know, maybe if you have like a net worth of $10 million, you're hanging out with people who have $100 million.
Well, and I think
so you don't think of yourself as rich anymore.
Your agent probably just comes to you and goes like, oh, you could just do this Ford voiceover. It takes you 2 days and you make X amount of money. Like, why would you not do it? Why would I not come to you with voice stuff? Yeah. Why would I not come to you with this offer? But it's just one of those things, you're watching TV and you're like, Billy Bob Thornton doesn't need this Verizon money.
Yeah. No, it's so true.
And like, or even, you know, another thing I always think is crazy is kids animated movies. Do you know where you go and I know there of course there is like a skill to that, of course. And I'm not saying there shouldn't ever be famous people in it, but it's funny when the whole cast is famous. Like you just imagine some like 4-year-old like, oh, Laura Linney's in the new Zootopia. Yeah. Like, it just seems so like silly. Just have that be you. Why can't that be you?
There was in the John Mulaney kids special, I think he had a sketch about that was like a kids focus group of like a movie, and he's like, and did everyone recognize that was Mandy Patinkin voicing the whale? I knew that was Mandy.
That's funny. Yeah, it's just like, that's another thing of like, there should be some type of rule where it's just like half of these people need to be middle class, like, or just like voice artists.
Yeah, no, that is, you know, and it's fun. I mean, I guess like they just had a strike, so
yeah,
I guess that's not what it's.
We got to put this on the next docket.
From
does it seem like bad business? Like if you're making Zootopia 3, like.
You can save money.
The budget would probably be half if you didn't get all of the like stars to have to make like every, like I get it. You're making Moana. You're like, oh, maybe it makes sense for The Rock. He's your big name. But like everyone else should just be regular people.
Yeah. I don't. What I heard from somebody recently was that like SAG didn't do as well as they should have in the or no, maybe it was the DGA. I don't know, something about like the some of the strikes didn't really go hard enough. I don't know. You're not in?
I'm technically in SAG.
You are in SAG.
Yeah. What? I used to make my money doing background extra.
Right. You got the joke about it that you were like awkward guy at that party,
which I haven't done in a while. I think my last one. What was my last one? I was a stand-in for Bodies. I don't know if you remember that movie.
I do. I like that movie a lot.
I was a stand-in for Pete Davidson, and
I can see it. Yeah.
And because I was during COVID, they didn't have a lot of people, so I was also a stand-in sometimes for Lee Pace, just because he's really tall and he's very handsome.
He is very handsome. Yeah. Almost, is he one of those people where he's like distractingly handsome up close?
Yes. Yeah. You see him and you're like, oh, of course you're like a movie star.
It's a very good looking movie. Everybody in that movie's very, very good looking.
Yeah. Director was very nice.
Yeah. What else have you been in?
A lot. I have like a list somewhere. I was in like, it's a lot of no one would ever see me unless I pointed it out. But I'm in like a half a second of The Irishman, or like I was in The Blacklist a couple times where people like texted me about it. That was really the only one. But it was a lot of things that are just like they're either like just TV shows that came and went, or like kind of like forgettable movies like The Stand, Stephen King's The Stand, which you can see me in it, and I could tell no one saw that movie because I didn't get one text about people seeing me in that movie.
I did some background acting recently, and I don't think that any of the producers are going to ask me to come back because I kept sneezing. There was something in the room that I was like allergic to, and I sneezed during multiple takes, and I felt so bad.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's like if you're like in the like main cast and you do that, it's like, all right, no worries. Like we'll get another take, you know. Like just do you. But I'm like, I don't even need to be here. You guys could fully do this without. I was like, they were so nice about it, like. But I could tell that they were like getting annoyed. Yeah. But I felt so bad.
Good job though, I think, for like a struggling. If you move to the city, it's a thing that like it could pay better. I don't know what it pays these days, but I would go and I'd make like I made more once I was able to join SAG. But even before that, I'd make like $80 to $125, but I'd get like 2 meals. And then, like, you'd also kind of have most of the day to just fuck off, so you get to, like, read or write or do stuff like that.
I enjoyed it. That's definitely something I'd like to do more. I did one other extra thing where it was also a party scene, but it was me and my girlfriend at the time, were in it, and they just asked us to, like, make out in the background, and they kept being like, you guys are doing such a good job. We were just like, we do this. Like, like this. It was so fun. I don't know what's ever happened with that. If that like,
there's a lot of things that like you spend a day or two on, and then you're like, what was the name of this again? And then like you don't even hear about it coming out. I was in a thing. Speaking of being Jewish, not Jewish, I was in like a Holocaust thing. Like I got like the thing and the star, the wooden shoes. I was in a concentration camp, and
another thing where like, yeah, I can see it.
And it was like a thing of like, I think I probably have in my notes somewhere what that was called, but like I've never seen that. I don't even know how to like find that, you know.
I was just thinking about the Key and Peele sketch where it's like a gay marriage being legalized, and they keep panning over to Keegan-Michael Key, and he's like, so I'm just imagining that like the Holocaust, like you're just in the background, but every shot it's just panning over to you, and
just be going, is it crazy? I'm not Jewish. Isn't that crazy?
Guys, you got the wrong guy. And do you've been doing other acting?
Not really. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm definitely a stand-up nerd. I would say that's like 90% of my focus, and 10% is just other varying writing that I think could be fun. And then it's like, yeah, if I got something, I'd do it, but it's not really something I pursue.
Yeah. What stand-ups have you been watching lately that you really like?
Now this is a big thing for me. Let me know what you think about this. I think as stand-ups, most stand-ups don't watch comedy, which I find very strange. Yeah. People are very in their heads of like, no, I'll steal or I'll be influenced too much. And it's like, but directors watch movies, dancers watch dance. Like every other musicians listen to music. You never meet a musician who's like, music not for me. I'll be too influenced by it. It just seems an excuse we give ourselves to be lazy.
Yeah, to be honest, I've never heard a good comic say that. Or okay, I don't want to say that. That's not fair. There are people that are good comics. I've never heard a great comic say that. Like you look at like John Mulaney watches a lot of stand-up, you know? Like anybody that because there are some people, I don't want to name names, but people I've heard on podcasts who I think are like, they're professionals, but they're like, I think pretty mediocre comics, and I've heard them say that, and I'm like, you could use some more influence.
Yeah, I think it's good to, like, I usually pick a day a week when I'm at home, I'm doing stuff. Maybe I'm running a couple errands where I'm like, I'm going to try and watch, it's like a comedy day. It's going to be on in the background. Like I'm going to watch 1 or 2 specials, maybe listen to an album when I'm doing, just nothing crazy. That's like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes if it's someone I'm not really interested in, it's just on in the background. But just to get like, what type of jokes are being released? Like how are specials looking? What's the length of them? I think this person's not funny. Maybe I'm wrong. I think this person is funny. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm right. Like just get a sense of, and I think all that makes you better.
No, I completely agree. And I think I don't necessarily watch as much stand up as I used to. Part of that is living in New York. You do like you see comedy every night.
Yeah.
And so I think that excuse I understand more than the I don't want to be influenced, because I'm like, dude, you should be like everything should be, unless you're like, I get it if I don't know. I mean, there's people that are like copycats and really just sound like one person, but I think if you're really like watching a lot of different stand-up, like I try and watch everybody. Something I do a lot is I'll go to like on like Apple Music and like just look at somebody's like discography. And I'll be like, like I did that with Carlin, I did it with Pryor. I'll do it with like, you know, more contemporary people too. But like, just listen to every album in chronological order.
Yes, that's very fun to do, especially
like, hear how they've grown. You know.
I started this game, a great road comic game. If you ever have a road trip with comics. So I put a playlist together and I put everyone in the that I could think of, like from Pryor to Louis to a comic who did a special around the corner. Mm-hmm. Anyone I can think of, it has thousands and thousands of tracks in it, right? And then I'm with a buddy. We hit random. We listen to a track, and then we talk about it afterwards.
Oh.
And it's nice because it gets you thinking of like, I like that he did this. Oh, I didn't like that he do this. Do I do that?
Yeah.
You know, like, and you kind of, and of course there is some gossipy aspect to it of like, that track from our buddy really sucks.
Yeah.
Huh? You know, like you get some fun gossip shit talk out of it, but it is a lot of like just people like really, you get to talk about like nuts and bolts with another comic buddy, and I feel like we don't do that a lot of like, oh, that the segues needed to be better. Like and then you start analyzing yourself.
To actually think about it critically.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think a lot of times, I think that, I mean, a lot of times it's just boiled down to like, is it funny or not? But it's like, no, there really is more to it than that in terms of like, and sometimes you will, you'll hear a joke on an album or a special and be like, oh, that's so close to being like a perfect joke. It's like, oh, I wish you didn't.
Yeah.
But but who are some of the people right now that you're really enjoying?
Man, I do try and watch a lot. I'm trying to think of people I mean, a lot of the like kind of good I don't want to say like veteran New York comics, like obviously like Norman Morrill, Soder, List, and then whenever I'm late at the Cellar, I always try and stay and watch Attell because I think he's the best living comedian. I just think he's like, it's kind of like crazy the things that he kind of just is like the jokes he has, but I always think like he's someone that's so prepared. Mm-hmm. Like he has a thing, like he has a joke if they're too talkative, or he has a joke if he says something and someone says thing A, he has a joke, and if they say thing B, he has a joke. Like he's just very prepared for every situation. Which is like, shows why he's the best.
Yeah. I mean, he's been doing stand-up for what, like 40 years now?
Yeah, probably something.
And he's put out like 2, 3 specials.
A couple of specials,
Not that many. So it's just like, he's got so much, like, he's like the true definition of like a comedy veteran, and like true like pro comedy. I've never seen him live.
Oh yeah, you have to. It's the best.
So how long have you been performing at the Cellar?
3 years. I think I got past November 2021. Oh, maybe November 2021. So I guess longer than that. Yeah. So a while now.
So what's that like?
Pretty crazy. I mean, it's kind of changed my life in that like you kind of get to make money doing stand up in the city. You get kind of like,
pretty cool,
sounds nice. You get kind of regular spots. You get to be around like a crew because people kind of like hang out there. A lot of other clubs in the city, though might be good, you maybe see 1 or 2 people. There's not like people kind of hanging out and getting dinner, and like having a bunch of spots. And, just to be around so many like, I think my second spot there, I went like 2 people after Kevin Hart,
wow.
And you're just kind of like, there's just like, there are just the occasional, I mean, not all the time, but just occasional like crazy shit happening.
What is that like when somebody like that drops in?
It's a cool feeling because it is, I always say like with music, like you're never going to see the Rolling Stones play for 80 people, but like with comedy, you see like, I've seen Chappelle go into, that small room and like the feeling is so fun because people are like, people are just, they explode.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, what? like they can't believe like a Ray Romano's there, a Chris Rock is there, Jimmy Fallon, you know, whoever kind of big name it is. And people are like, that feeling is kind of like unmatched.
Yeah. I was on a show once at West Side Comedy Club, and the host asked me, what do you want me to say when I bring you up? And I was like, I don't care. I don't really have any credits. And then she said, this next comic needs no introduction. And I could see some of the audience members be like, "Oh, that is not like what we like." Yeah. Like when they said my name, they were like, where do we know?" Like,
that's funny.
I was just like, "Come on, man. Like that's not what I meant by that."
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's good too. Another thing about doing stand-up for a while, you get in such weird situations that I'm like, if that happened again, you probably have like 3 lines.
Oh yeah, no. Now I have a joke about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like completely. I need some introduction.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. Yeah. But yeah. So have you ever like gone up immediately after like one of those like big names?
You know what? I don't. I'm trying to think. I've definitely been on the show. I don't think I've really gone up immediately after, which sometimes honestly isn't as tough of a spot as you think.
Because the audience is so like warmed up.
They're warmed up, and you get to be the guy that immediately jokes about it.
Right.
Like, 2 famous people in a row. You know, like you get to kind of do all that stuff. Whereas if you go 1 or 2 people after the famous person, they're a little bit like, oh, we've seen the famous person, and we've seen the person after the famous person. Our night's done now.
Yeah.
You know, like that's almost more the tougher spot than it is immediately after. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, almost like following the famous person is like you kind of get the assist of like the there's like leftover laughs.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So who's the best? Who's like killed the hardest?
Oh man, that's a good. I mean, Attell when he's on is pretty unreal. But like a lot of those famous people who are still like putting in the work, like a Ray Romano when he's there, it's pretty like he's really good. You know, obviously like a Chris Rock. And I'm trying to think of who. I mean, all those people like, of course it's built in because people know them a bit, so they get a little, you know, especially up front. Yeah, like you're in a small room when like a famous person's there, people are like doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, is there anybody you haven't seen?
That's a good question. Who haven't I seen? I think I've seen pretty much all of the big names. There are some people that don't come there a lot. Like I've seen like Burr once. Yeah. You know, and they are, you know, a couple people like that. But I think most of the bigger names, especially that tour regularly. Yeah. I feel like I've seen.
Yeah. Is there anybody you've been like starstruck by?
I mean, a little bit. There was a funny thing. I went before Chris Rock once, and I remember I came off stage and he was like coming down the stairs, and I was just like, oh, they're good. And he kind of like almost gave me a little like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. for me, it's I'm not, like, they're gonna be good for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there's definitely been moments that I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
Yeah. You know? Did he? Have you seen him do the thing where like he like bombs intentionally? Is that true?
I haven't seen. I've seen him do, more like lo-fi Chris Rock. I haven't really seen any bomb intentionally, but it's more like it is fun to see some of these really big people do new stuff.
Right, because that's their open mic.
That's their open mic, exactly. Yeah. And that's another reason why it's not always the worst to follow a famous person, because even though it's Kevin Hart is literally using it as an open mic. Yeah. So people are excited, he's doing well, and I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff in there that works, but a lot of times it's up and down. Yeah. And then you come in there and you do the best 15 you've ever written in your life. Right. You seem like a hero too.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very interesting seeing like the more famous people kind of like work out stuff.
Yeah. That's amazing. That sounds like it would be like super inspiring to watch.
Yeah, because there are times you see them kind of like not doing that well, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what we all have to do.
Right. Yeah. And it's like even when you get to that level, it's like you still got to like try.
Well, and I'm sure we even have this. How many times have you written something you're like, this is good. I've done it. This is good. And then you say it and like it bombs and you're like, and then maybe you try it again, it bombs again and you're like, wow, I was so wrong. I wasn't even a little bit right.
Just like those ones are like, am I good at this at all?
Like those things that you're like, this is a 10 out of 10, and you're like, this isn't even a 2 out of 10.
Yeah,
like you weren't even close. It's not like you thought this was going to be great and it was pretty good. It was like just you completely missed the mark.
Yeah, that's so funny. All right, so you already kind of answered it earlier, but I gotta ask you the title question. I gotta ask you, why aren't you more famous?
Why? I think part of it is I don't want it. I think that's part of like, it's an interesting thing with comedy. I don't know how you feel about this these days, but like, it's a lot about social media, a lot about numbers, and I feel like someone, a comic had a great point the other day. He's like, if you're a young comic and you're trying to be good at stand-up, that's almost dumb.
Yeah, it's so true.
And
so
like,
true.
And I'm not saying it's like, oh, I'm not famous because I'm so good. I'm gonna say, but I am someone who's like laser focused on just stand up. That's what I like. Yeah. I like doing, like in a perfect world, I want to be Attell. I don't want to be like put in the name of whatever famous person you don't think is that good. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, but there's no real benefit to that in a career material way, like there was even 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And it's interesting because you got to dance with the devil a little bit, and everyone has to pick how much and how comfortable they are doing that, and, everyone has different, like, I think there are a lot of people that are really good at doing like Instagram sketches, right? And those like work right now. That's the thing that's kind of in. And it's just kind of like, well, but it's not really my thing. Like, I didn't get into that to do this, so do I want to spend all my time chasing that dragon to get more followers? And if I'm not really liking doing that, it's like a weird balancing act, I see a lot of comics now, and some I think are very funny, where they're doing like recaps of the news and stuff like that, and that's working like gangbusters, for a lot of people. And a lot of very funny people I know are doing it, but it's a thing of like, but is that what I wanted? Did I get into this just to write Trump jokes? Yeah. Like, if someone's good at that and they like doing that, like, all the power to them. But like, for me, that's not like why I'm doing it. And so like, I don't know, it's an interesting balancing act.
Yeah, definitely. Are you doing comedy full time now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because so how many years has that been? That's been full time.
I would say like 5, give or take.
Yeah. What were you doing before you? Because you had jokes about some different days.
A lot of side jobs. I like babysitted for a while. I did the background for a while, and then I had more when I was in Buffalo. I had more stable jobs, just getting that money pot high before I moved here. Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of that. I also just think I'm not hot. Yeah. That really hurts you not being hot, because like it helps you a little bit in comedy. Yeah. Because like any weird looking, I think you're more relatable. But on Instagram, people want to see a hot person in their car being like, what I think's crazy is pizza. Why is pizza so expensive? You could just kind of free base premises if you're a hot person, and people are they'll watch that when they're taking a shit. That's true. Yeah. So like attractiveness, I think hurts me, and I think the want, and I think just my focus isn't usually where the popularity is, Yeah.
So where's your focus? Like, what are you?
Just I want to do stand up and release like an hour every 3 years, and I don't think that's not. What moves the mark? That's not going to get me 500,000 followers. No, yeah, exactly, yeah. What are you writing about these days? Like, what's on your mind, comedy wise? Ooh, a little bit of everything. I mean, I like kind of like chunks, if that makes sense. Like sometimes I'll get a thing, like all this stuff about like men today, but it goes to like 10 different things. There's like how men dress, how men date, how men, but like you're able to do little bits and then like put them all together into a big chunk. I find that like pretty satisfying. Yeah. So it's a lot of just, I mean, it's really all over the place. I'm like a little personal, but I try not to be too personal just because that's not it's like we were kind of talking about earlier. Just, I kind of like being like, here's my thoughts about things I've noticed, things about the world, as opposed to sometimes I find the one-man show type comedy not to my taste. It's a little like, I don't know, let me tell you about my life. And it's like, okay, but I kind of want to, I guess it's all right if it's funny, but I don't really care that much about your dating history. It's got to be how it relates to bigger things a little bit. You know?
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting to strike that balance because like some people are so good at the observational stuff, and then some people are so good at the personal stuff.
Yes, and I think if you could combine them, to me, that's the sweet spot.
I think that's what all the best comics like have in common. That's what Louis was so great at. Yeah, was just like combining. I say was like he's dead. But just combining like the personal and like. And this is how it relates to the world, or these observations, and this is how it relates to myself. Yes. Because sometimes you see people going a little too, especially like at like the open mic level, where it's if you're leaning a little too hard into one direction, where it's like, okay, maybe if you were, maybe as part of a one-man show, this would be really good, but it's like you're doing 3 minutes at an open mic. So I don't know that this traumatic story is really that funny, or vice versa. Oh, this observation on dating. Okay, but I don't even know who you are.
Yes.
You know?
Yep. Exactly. 100%. And I think you kind of need both. I'm almost like maybe 70-30. I like observation to personal. Like enough personal to make the observation stick. But like I kind of like one of the greatest feelings to me watching stand-up is when someone has like, obviously you want the joke to be good, but when someone has like a take where you're kind of like, wow, I never thought about it that way, but that makes so much sense. Yeah. Like just like little things like that where you're like, oh, yeah, that's a great.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite that comes to mind, like a favorite joke or bit?
I wish I did for the sake of good podcasting. I'm trying to think of a joke.
It would be so funny if you just like, no.
It's never been done. I'm just chasing that feeling.
That's like the nightmare podcast scenario is like somebody that's like, you ask them a question like, no, I don't think so. And then it goes nowhere.
Do you know a comic? Here's one I thought of recently because every time I see him tell this joke, I'm like, man, that's so good. Is Jeff Sheen? I don't know if you.
I do know Jeff. He
has this joke that I really like about how like everyone talks about we're on our phones too much. It's like, but do you ever see like someone on the street, like yelling about something, like, get that guy a phone. Like, get that, and there's a thing of like, oh, what a smart observation of like, some of us are on our phones too much, but maybe some of us should be on our phone more, like to calm some of those people down. And it's so like, funny. And I always say sometimes there is a funny, like, stand-up logic. Like if you were a sociologist, I don't know if you're implementing that, but there's a funny, just like, kind of circular logic of a joke that you're like, oh, that's so satisfying,
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where like if you were like a sociologist or like really proposing that as a real thing, you'd have to like hear the argument against it. But in stand up, because you have the it's a joke defense, it's I shut up if you disagree. Like for
But that's why it's also funny where some comics now they think they're like too smart, they're getting like too involved politically, and you'd be like, no man, a lot of your stuff makes sense from like joke logic, but it doesn't really. I'm not putting you in charge of health and human services based on
100%,
there is different kinds of. There's like joke smart, and sometimes that could be real world smart, but oftentimes it isn't. You know?
Yeah, or it's like the context of it. The context is what's so important. Like the context of I'm saying this in a comedy club versus I'm saying like when Tony Hinchcliffe spoke at the Trump rally, and it's like, well, that I don't think the jokes were that good, but that's even besides the point. Where it's like that's not funny because you're at a political rally, right? Like it's not a joke anymore. You're doing that in your act. It's not very good, but it's like whatever.
Well, it's almost the extrapolation of the person who's like, they're funny at parties, but they're not funny on stage. It's just like, well, I'm not saying that person isn't funny, but there's just different contexts for funny.
Yeah, and the way that you're funny at a party, or like, I mean, I think that what we're all trying, like, I think everybody that does comedy, like, we all do it because somebody told us we were funny at some point before we did comedy, And so it's like, I think for a lot of people, it's trying to capture that that funniness
right.
in some way, but it's there's certainly things that I've said in conversation that were hilarious, and then I tried to bring it to stand up and it did not work.
Yep, yeah.
At all.
Or like, it's just the classic thing of like, someone might be killing at a party, but they can't like go on stage and be like, okay, I'm gonna take this beer can, smash it over my nuts, and just like people be like, "What is this?" You know. But like, if you're 18 at a party, that might murder.
Yeah,
you know.
And we've all seen somebody at an open mic who's like clearly just the funniest person in their friend group, and nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your dreams, goals, desires, hopes?
It seems like a low bar, but a thing I've come to with age is like, in a perfect world, I'd be like, like you said, like just a bit more popular, able to kind of headline, work the road. But like, to me, I think I've already hit the thing of like, I don't have a day job. Like, I'm able to do this for a living. I'm able to wake up late. I'm able to get on stage, a good amount of nights of the week. And am I making great money? No, but I'll also feel like, I'm able to travel. And it's just kind of like, that seems like a pretty good, I don't got to work at Geico 9 to 5.
Sure,
and like, that to me is like the win. So if I could keep doing that, ideally the money goes up a little bit so I'm not worried about my future. But I already feel like I'm kind of at the 1% almost of terms of artist,
Yeah, and I'd love to work at Geico, just for the record. Just Geico, if you're listening, come on.
Or sponsor, he could sponsor the pod.
Dude, that'd be awesome. I love that Geico, man.
Geico could sponsor the pod, put us in the commercials. I mean, this is...
Geico, I don't feel like they've gone the celebrity. There's some, it's. I mean, I hate as being leftist or whatever. I'm like, I inherently hate commercials, but we've gone so far into the capitalism and commercialization and everything that there's certain brands that I'm like, I like the integrity of their commercial.
Oh, yeah,
totally. Red Bull, where I'm like, they're still just rocking that cartoon thing. Yeah. They're not.
Or you see a Coca-Cola for their Christmas. I think a lot of this happened during the Super Bowl. They're using AI, and you're like,
disgusting. What
the fuck? It's so infuriating because you're like, you're $1 billion company. What did this commercial cost you? And you're saving. That's where you're saving your money. It's like, listen, if some mom and pop shop wanted to make an AI commercial, whatever. But again, that should be some type of rule where it's like, hey, if you're a company that makes this much money, you just can't use AI. You have to give that to the middle class of artists. To hawk your shit.
Yeah, but I think to having your art be your day job, I think literally does put you basically in the 1% of artists. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so it's cool. I can't complain. I mean, I do. We all do.
Of course, that's what comedy is.
But
and that's why people think you're Jewish.
But I try and take a step back and be like, I have that going for me, and that is, that's that was the dream when you started. That was the dream.
Yeah. No, and now the dream is just to work for Geico.
Let us sell out.
Come on. It is. That's another thing about I've talked about this on the pod before, but with social media, that sort of everyone's goal in a way is to become an influencer and sell stuff and I mean you can't when I see people that I'm friends with doing these product placement posts and basically just making ads for other people, I'm like, I can't be mad at them,
it's a really. But what's your age?
I'm 29.
29. So I feel like that is a thing. Especially people a little older than me, but I would say definitely kind of at least half millennial was selling out was a taboo.
I know.
You watch anything in the 90s, sellout was an insult.
Yeah.
And now it's Gen Z, early millennials, they're rushing to sell out because they're well, if this place wants to give me money, why not take it? And it's it's tough for me because I get both sides of that.
Yeah.
I understand both sides of the argument,
Yeah. I mean, and I feel it goes back to what you're saying about there should be rules where it's it's not selling out if you're not actually if you're not making money and this is your only way to make money.
Yes.
Then it's not selling out.
Yeah, you're trying to survive.
But it's if you're Will Ferrell or Jason Bateman or whoever, it's you don't, maybe like the commercial is funnier because you're in it, but like you don't need this money.
Yeah.
But then I also do understand it because I'm like, well, it's easy. It's easy money to do this voiceover for Kia. Like,
yeah, but I think they need to be forced to have a backbone that like, but you just don't need the money.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that's crazy to me about like younger people wanting to be influencers. I get the ease of it, like the sexiness of it. You don't got to go into an office or anything, but it seems so like morally bankrupt.
100%
where you're just like,
agree, yeah.
where you're just like, I don't know, man. You get one life, and I'm not saying we're lighting the world on fire with our like comedic observations or our podcast appearances, but there is a little thing that we at least believe in our product.
Yeah.
And there is something very like lame to me of like, oh, I just want to get famous off something I don't really give a shit about. I don't really believe in. I like that. To me is there's a grossness to that I'm like, I don't know, man, just fucking be a plumber. Do something that adds because I think about that all the time, and I think I like have some success in comedy. I feel like I do well, and I have that where I'm like, I should be contributing actually to society. But people that are contributing even less than me, it just feels like, God damn, man, do anything else with your life. Like, I get that there's an easiness to it, and I'm lazy. I could appreciate that, but like, I don't know, like it used to be comics would be like, I need that sitcom job so I could get people to come out to see my stand-up because that's what I give a fuck about. But it's like now people are doing like, well, I'm doing that Instagram reel to get my numbers up. I'm like, yeah, but what's the end? What's the thing you give a shit about? Well, what's the thing you're like, even if you're a shitty musician, at least you're like, oh, I have this pop album dropping that I want people, like at least you care about that. Give me something you care about.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, when everything's a minute long and it's content, like, it just kind of replaces any, like, sort of artistic integrity.
Yeah.
But it's fun, but it's so fun. So I'm so happy to be, this is the world. Yeah, what what keeps you going then?
What keeps me going? I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I have a thing in my brain that I know I'll always do stand-up. I like the immediacy of it. I like the fact that I could think of something this afternoon, find out if it works tonight. I like that there's a little bit of math to it. Like there's a little bit of, you could make a movie and 99 people can hate it and 1 people can love it. And in stand-up, there's a little bit more of like an off-on, like that joke worked or it didn't work. You know, there's a little bit of like, I kind of appreciate how you could quote unquote be wrong or be right. You know, sometimes you'll see a comic that maybe you don't think are funny, but they're killing, and you got to go like, well, I got to give it up to them. They're killing. Even if it's not for me, there's a little bit of like, they figured
there's some sort of objectivity to it.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey man, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
This is really fun. Before we wrap up, you got anything you want to plug?
Yes, new special, Long Story Thin, on Mark Norman's YouTube page. Please watch that.
Great special.
Thank you. Give a like, give a comment. I have another special out there called Neil. It's on my YouTube page. And follow me on Instagram. I am Shaun Murphy, Shaun with a U.
Shaun Murphy, everybody.
Oh, okay.